I think it's so important to have good inclusive participation in all kinds of clinical trials. Minority populations have been underrepresented for the longest time.
It is extremely important for communities of color and other underrepresented groups to participate in clinical research trials, because what we know right now around treatment for cancer is based on individuals that are not necessarily from those groups.
We need the complete picture. We've had a partial picture for decades, and what that results is certain drugs not working as effectively for some people versus others. And so we're tired of that. So we would like to effectively treat patients, and we need diversity to answer a thorough scientific question.
So for me personally, it is about not only advancing the science, but advancing the science in everybody.
I study prostate cancer. I've seen a changing landscape as it relates to how prostate cancer is detected, how it's seen, how it's treated. And one of the things that we all understand is that African American men have a higher risk, higher incidence, and higher mortality than any other population of men in this country. And so we have a extremely disparate amount of data on Black men.
I'm of Hispanic or Latino heritage, but we represent a wide range of heterogeneity in our population, from Afro-Caribbean all the way to European and Native American in the middle. And so we are now, representing 19% of the U.S. population, but underrepresented in a large number of studies.
And so understanding Hispanic and Latino related cancers, challenges to how they access care, how we see them, how we care for them, has become a very important mission for us.
Being here in Memphis is unique because that disparity is so real. Memphis was one of the top 5 largest cities in terms of the racial disparity as it reflected breast cancer mortality.
I see a lot of Armenian patients, I see a lot of Asian patients, Hispanic patients, and many of them do not speak English. So one barrier is language.
In our patient population, I think one of the struggles is medical literacy.
We didn't get to this place where we don't believe in clinical trials overnight. And so it's going to take years for us to get the trust of our African American patients and bring them to a place where they're willing to participate.
If you're going to ask any patient, regardless of color, to participate in a study that is an investigation, that you have to take the time to make sure that they understand.
For me personally, I think it comes to a fairness and an ethical perspective here. We should not be limiting access to novel therapies that could be life-changing for some patients. We should not be limiting the access based on somebody's insurance, based on somebody's financial situation.
I never thought I was going to get a call at work saying I had breast cancer.
My oncology doctor is the one he had told me about the clinical trials. He had me read on it, talk to me about it. It took us a couple of visits till I was a little more comfortable to know what I was gonna do.
After I went through everything and they told me I was eligible for the clinical trial, I asked again several people what would they do, people that had already gone through treatment. I had a good friend and she said, don't let them experiment on you. And I said, what do you mean? She said, you don't know what they're giving you. I said, I don't know what they're giving me in the regular course of treatment either, but I do know that I want a chance for life. And I remember telling one of my friends, I have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me.
I feel I'm a different person. I don't worry about the small stuff. I've been through cancer and I've been through chemo, research medicine. I'm stronger.
Some of the misconceptions that we hear about the most, or the myths, is that, if individuals say, I don't want to be a guinea pig, right? And they think that, and the other is that I don't want to be given a placebo. These are some things that in our community misunderstands, and it's really important to help educate them on that.
So one thing that I would like to see go away is the thinking among some community provider that I should only send patients for evaluation for clinical trials when I have nothing else to offer.
One of the myths in the healthcare community around diversity in clinical trials research is that individuals from communities of color will not participate in clinical research. That is so not true. Basically, many of them have not been asked or approached.
It's really important to include the family or some support person in the initial conversations about clinical trials.
I had good and bad experiences, as you do in life. But I think people that work with cancer patients need to have a little bit more compassion.
You got to find a way to meet them at their eye level, and win some of their trust.
So we are working to see how we can encourage physicians to recruit and enroll diverse patients at a greater rate, how we can get community and patients more excited about enrolling in these clinical trials.
If you really care about what you're doing, which is medicine, I believe that anybody who gets in this field, you get in it for the knowledge and how you can help people, then do that. Go into the community to get a better understanding of the people that you're taking care of. Understand what it's like to live in where they're coming from.
We're building these sustained partnerships and going out into these communities, doing education, doing screenings, and letting them know that we're here and we care.
So we use a community health advisor model where we identify individuals in local communities who we train around basic cancer facts, around clinical trials, education, and key cancer screening and prevention messages.
When you have that diversity, and not just race, but age and gender, just diversity overall, it goes a long way in being able to see a more comprehensive picture from multiple angles.
So my hope for the future of advancing inclusive research is one in which everybody is benefiting.
I feel like that I'm helping people, and with my story and what I've gone through, it's gonna definitely help the next person with breast cancer.
I think for healthcare professionals, I want to say that it's really important for all of us to do our part to ensure that we have a diverse participation in clinical research trials. That's really key for us to get better understanding about what treatments work for which populations, and for us to hopefully move to a point where we can have everyone living a life without cancer.
Cancer gave me more than it took away. It took away some organs, but what it gave me was courage I didn't think I had. It gave me the appreciation of a new day, every day.
I think that we should treat every human being with dignity and respect, and also be inclusive and include everyone who are eligible for clinical trials.
My hope is that every clinical trial recruitment mirrors the community, that every patient population can look at a trial and the trial result and say, yes, I was represented.